by the Minister of Cooperative Governance, that's Thembi Nkadimeng, together with the Minister of Electricity, Ruse, confirming, of course, the breaking news of earlier in the day that the government has now revoked the national state of disaster as far as it concerns the energy crisis, and also touching on the possible impact of that. And Minister Hussein Ramakgoba and Minister Thembi Nkadimeng saying that there will be no impact, the work continues, and measures which were put in place while that national state of disaster for electricity was still underway will continue to be carried out. And the major challenge is to make sure that we reduce, the country reduces severity of load shedding stages. Let's speak now to energy expert Ruse Moleshe on government's decision to revoke the state of disaster about the electricity crisis. We've had that announcement earlier, and the Minister of Cooperative Governance, Thembi Nkadimeng, a short while ago confirming that decision, and that's what has happened. And in a separate matter, government earlier also announcing that it is reversing its ESCOM's PFMA exemption, which caused a lot of outrage and controversy yesterday. Now, regarding what's been announced today, Ruse, welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time. What's your overriding reaction to what we've seen? I mean, they're two separate matters, but the main one, let's start with it, is around the fact that the government has now, with immediate effect, revoked that state of disaster in the energy sector.
Thank you, Dan, and good afternoon to the viewers. My reaction is that this doesn't make government look good in the eyes of the public, basically because I think that before any national state of disaster or anything like that is declared, there should be some homework that government does to be able to preempt any of legal things that will come about or anything that may not work. An example of this again is also when the president announced that the tariffs, they would ask ESCOM to reconsider when that was not possible in terms of law. So I think that in that vein, government really should do better in this regard. I know that when there was announcement, there is an insinuation that this is not this has not been scrapped because of the legal case, but I doubt that that's the case.
Yes, and the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance, Pakstow, he was also part of this briefing, saying that they realized they no longer needed such a state of national disaster, therefore there was no need to go to court to fight. But it looks like it was an afterthought, because people were going to be asking for accountability and transparency, because during a national state of disaster, a lot can be done under the guise of fixing a problem, but then there could be some misgovernance.
Correct. There would be, people would be asking for accountability, just like they've done recently with the exemption from ESCOM, transparency, given where we come from in the past, whether something is really wrong or is a perception, is still important for government to be seen, to be transparent, to be seen, to be doing things in the best interest of the nation. So that was going to be asked for. And it's interesting and telling that the minister was saying, for instance, in terms of the Kusile issue and the exemption by the Department of Environmental Affairs, that there was no need for an intervention from the national state of disaster. It begs the question then, what was the purpose of the national state of disaster if some of these things could be done? Setting up the one-stop shop within the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, was that also necessary? That it begs the question really, did we think through exactly what we wanted to achieve with this national state of disaster?
You know what also will make people wonder, because the fact that the government has Chechela Morao has backtracked, that's the correct English expression, has backtracked on this Eskom state of disaster will also raise questions with investors, I think, in the energy sphere, Ruse, because they are looking for certainty and confidence in that whatever measures have been put in place, one, although Hussein Ramokgopa says that they will continue to implement them, they want to know that investing in this energy climate environment of South Africa, including with the renewables, things will go right, because now they won't be sure if they can trust.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I mean, government is a lawmaker, really. And to be able to understand the environment within which you operate as government yourself. As I said, I made an example with respect to the tariff, and this is another example, and the exemption is another example. So it's very important to think very carefully prior to announcing things and putting them out there, only to backtrack at the 11th hour. I think that we used to have seasoned legal minds like Mojanko Gumbe in the past who would really, look into these things prior to preempt any challenges, and therefore make sure that whatever you're announcing is foolproof. It's very important.
Yeah, I mean, the other matter which you've also mentioned, that's been in the news, of course, around the same area we're talking about energy with Eskom, was the government as well backtracking earlier today after an uproar, I mean, from all kinds of quarters, civil society, trade unions, political parties, and analysts and economists to say, why are you exempting Eskom from reporting transparently and openly around irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure? And they've gone back on that. I mean, overall, with these developments, I mean, as you said, confidence in governments and might be shaken. But from an energy perspective, are you comforted by some of the words you heard earlier from Minister Hussein Ramokgopa and Minister Thembi Nkadimeng saying that going forward, the measures already put in place over the last 2 months, I think the state of national disaster has been in place for about 2 months only, it's a very short period, that those measures will continue to be implemented?
I mean, there's nothing extraordinary from the energy perspective and trying to reduce load shedding that has been done through the national state of disaster, unless there's something that I missed. So it begs the question, did we really have to go there, or were we very clear about the exact things we needed to do? Yes, there was the indication through the regulations themselves that hospitals would be exempted, and there was work, there were identified hospitals, there was work done through that. But the question is, could that have been done through other measures? And and as I say, exempting Kusile didn't need the national state of disaster. It was done through the department, and it was approved without requirements.
Yeah, Ruse, thank you very much for your time. We've run out of time now as well, as we head towards 3 o'clock. But thank you for your insights as well, energy expert Ruse Moleshe. Your top stories will be coming up shortly.